Okay, I think as I've introduced myself, Uzugile, I think when you stood up there, you mentioned something very important, the involvement of politics, because I think everyone sitting in this room probably went to a multiracial school, from primary school up until high school. You don't see color, that social cohesion, even the problems that we face at home are almost similar. But the moment you go to university, for example, and you now start getting into or being exposed to the political side of things, that's when you start seeing race. And I think even for myself, going from a multiracial school and going into university, I think that's the first time I realized if you go to DUT, it's majority black. If you go to Northwest University, it'll be majority white. And you're then led to believe that the struggles of the youth are separate from that. And I think that's where the social cohesion then dilapidates, and we start looking at each other and blaming each other. That obviously you look at maybe the strike that was held for Fees Must Fall. I was a self-paying student at the time, and I felt I had to work for mine, so I had to work for my fees. I didn't have NASFAS. I didn't qualify for it, and I felt while the strike was going on, I still have to pay for my fees, and if I fail, I have to pay again. Whereas the people that are striking, they still get another opportunity again through NASFAS. So once you create that division amongst the youth, not only black and white, but just social, separation. For example, if you come from middle class, and some of the guys basuke makaya, so as soon as they come through here, they believe that our struggles are not the same. Meanwhile, as soon as you graduate, we're all looking for the same jobs. We all want, to start off on the same platform. So I think with the youth, what needs to start first is to eradicate the system of politicizing everything. And looking at one another, for example, thinking, well, she's sitting right here, she doesn't understand the struggle of being a youth in South Africa. And if we were to just sit down and have a conversation, we then realize that we're actually going through the same things. Petrol price is the same for a person who lives in Hillcrest than a person who lives in New Germany, a person who lives in Claremont. So the moment we run away from where we are and where we've been and actually deal with the current situation, I think as youth we'd always come together. There might be great ideas from someone coming from Claremont who would work well with someone coming from Hillcrest, and they come together and they bring something solid. So what we've been brought up now to is to look at where someone comes from, to look at maybe how life has advanced them to a certain degree, and then from there we then start judging each other. So I think the first thing we need to attack as youth is social cohesion. I mentioned just before this meeting how a platform like this is non-existent. I think I'm going to be 31 this year. I've never sat down in a room where it's been placed on the table. We're all from different racial backgrounds. We're all from different backgrounds. And now we're not going to deal with she's white, he's black. We're going to deal with what is the youth facing? We've never had that discussion. Whereas when it is placed, for example, if you are in the ANC Youth League, it's spoken about that we are attacking white privilege. So the moment I, as a young person, am set into a meeting constantly being told that there's white privilege, when I see her, I see that white privilege, never having had a conversation with her. So, and I think if I were to have a conversation with her, there'd be something I'd learn and I'd take out from that and be like, wow, it's actually not white privilege, it's a way of thinking. Maybe they have something that they've been taught that I haven't been taught. Maybe she'd have a conversation with me and learn something. So I think a platform like this to create social cohesion, years back there was, they call it something love. It used to be in the communities where youth used to come together. I think the only time now youth comes together is in the corner of a street to have a smoke, to have a dope. So when you look at the structure of the Springboks as well, those group of gents, and Makazwoli Mapimpi, it doesn't matter where he comes from, but he can contribute towards that. A Mzwandile Stick can contribute towards that. A Rassi Erasmus can contribute towards that. Whether you come from a private school, whether you come from, more disadvantaged background. So I think the social cohesion is what needs to be attacked first. And I think as youth, we need to come together and have these conversations. There are platforms, as you said, the world now is on the little cell phones that we carry every day. And if I were to ask myself, the friends I had in primary school and high school, white, black, colored, Indian, and you'd ask me now, my group of friends are black. because I believe those are the people who understand me and who understand my struggle. Meanwhile, growing up, I knew that we all had the same struggle of taking what the Rainbow Nation is and making it a better place. But now, since we've been politicized, we've been separated, and ideologies have been placed into our minds, we now look at each other as the enemy. And that's why I think you look at anything now, even the Malanga Commission, if you're sitting and then they say, black people are stealing, there's corruption, then from the white society, it's, these black guys don't know how to run a country. And never having had a conversation with those people in the youth, what makes them steal? You know what I mean? So I think if we were to have this discussion, this is absolutely amazing. And I think furthermore, if there are any more seminars where the youth is actually coming together like this, it would be a brilliant platform, not only just to discuss with a small group of people, but to let everyone else out there. We see it on social media every day. And now there's this lovely song that's on social media now, Umaskandi, where we're seeing white people sing the song. And it brings about that euphoria we see when the Springboks run onto the field. But that feeling only lasts for about 30 seconds to a minute. Thereafter, we look at each other again that, white is privileged and black doesn't have this, and so on and so forth. So I think for my contribution, social cohesion is the first thing, where we do not see color and we do not see social classes, but we see each other as a youth that is struggling the same and needs to build the nation the same. So that would take out what a DA, an ANC, and so on and so forth would be doing.
Good evening again, everyone. My name is James. Olani invited me to be here. Thank you for this opportunity for us as young people, and thank you for, even though I'm close to the 35 benchmark, I'll be 32 this year in a couple of weeks, so we're just about there. Happy birthday to you, Gavin. I'm in a couple of weeks, so we August babies. Very interesting point that you made, and Olani, some of the things you said, in particularly depoliticizing everything. It seems that in South Africa there is this tendency to politicize, and I would like to maybe not go a step further, but maybe as a slight tangent, and I think it relates to your social cohesion point of deracializing everything. It seems that as a white person, I'm often in all white spaces, particularly with the older generation. My dad is he's a boomer, born in 1949, so I've experienced people who've come from quite indoctrinated racial backgrounds from the privileged side, where I am taught that I'm better just because I'm white. And it's very interesting watching that play out. And you just see now where, even in Hillcrest and Cassia Road, there's potholes. People come with spray paint, circle it, ANC. People say, they see a black person talking in an interview, and they say, but they voted for their government. It's, as much as it's politicized, it's also racialized, where suddenly, just because the majority of the party is black, suddenly it's a black person problem, and I as a white person shouldn't have a responsibility because I maybe voted for someone else. It's quite concerning to see that these moments of unity are so short-lived. One thing that lives in my memory, because I was 16 at the time, was the 2010 World Cup, where the country just seemed to be united over some sort of common goal. And then as soon as it's over, it just dissipates. It just becomes this fragmented society that we live in. So what I think we need to talk about as youth is creating a better South Africa for all, and disidentifying with this concept of I'm from this racial background, I'm from this social class, I'm from this area, I'm from this school or whatever, and realize that we're all fundamentally human beings and we want the same thing, and that is to live a life of happiness, fulfillment, and joy. What that means for each and every person is always going to be different. And taking away this kind of hierarchy that having millions and billions of rands or dollars is somehow a better way to live than someone who's living in a rural area on a farm who doesn't necessarily have material wealth. But you can't eat money. You can't eat your computer, it doesn't do anything. It creates value, apparently, in the economy. But at the end of the day, how many meals are you eating and who's providing that? So is someone who knows how to grow their own food less or worth less or less dignified than someone who wears a suit every day and goes to an office? Why is urbanization sudden? Why is it the goal? Why is economic growth always the goal? I think in South Africa, in the last few years, especially for me, my eyes have been open to just the diversity of culture. It comes from all the different languages, the different cultures, the different tribes. If you go back the few hundred years, and you see that I don't think people actually want urbanization. People want to just survive or live. They want to live well. And as much as we as privileged people can be here and sit in this room and not worry about food, where our next meal is necessarily coming from, is it really up to us to determine what's best for someone else? I know what you said about people who are in the struggle find it difficult to get themselves out of it. But at what point do we involve them in the conversation? And why is it, how do we put ourselves in their shoes when we've never lived in their shoes? I don't mean this to challenge anyone or disagree with anyone, but the way I go about looking into problems is just asking different questions and trying to view it from different points of view, because I don't have all the answers, and anyone who claims to do so is not someone I think you should be listening to all the time, because they, tend to get stuck in their own echo chambers and can, just get stuck in their own ways. So I guess to bring it all back is, it's important for us here to challenge our own beliefs and ask different questions and ask for different viewpoints. But fundamentally, I want to know, and I want to open up for discussion. I want to hear people's opinions on how we can de-racialize everything and bring it back to we are all fundamentally human beings, and how can we live in a way that makes the world a better place for every piece of life, not just the people sitting next to us, but the trees, the planets, the birds, the worms, your pets, your animals. Because we are destroying this planet to the way that we're living, and we cannot carry on this way. So South Africa is in a very interesting point, because all of this social change is reaching such a crux at a time where the environmental challenges in the world are also at a real important turning point. And if we can find a way to merge the two, I think South Africa is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the world. Just like you see China and India really coming up to be global powerhouses, I truly think South Africa and Africa in general, if we can get the cohesion right, the potential here. Because I learned recently that Africa has 60% of the world's arable land. Arable land is to grow food on, and it's underutilized. In 2024, it was $115 billion spent on importing food into Africa, when we have 60% of the world's arable land. And the only reason it isn't utilized is down to infrastructure and funding. Two things: infrastructure and funding. So how do we bring together social cohesion, funding, and knowledge and organization together to create a world that we all want to live in, and not one that's main goal is to just be that little bit better than the person next to me, because everyone's better at us in something. So it's just how it is. But that's fundamentally, I think that's
Yeah, you can start there. Hi, Ursula. I know that we were asked for, like, a lot of people are asking questions. James, you asked a lot of questions. To throw solutions into an air, a lot of change starts young. A lot of change starts in school, a lot of change starts in early life. Children are not born racist. Children are not born money hungry. Children are taught that. A lot of children and a lot of our generation, and I say our generation, I mean people under 35, are not taught how to vote. A lot of them are not taught what political parties stand for. A lot of them are not taught what goes into a political party. And so they vote based on what is around them. Their parents, their peers, things like that. When we talk about trying to deracialize things, no child is born racist. You deracialize the parents. You deracialize the schools. You deracialize the bars and the sports clubs. You deracialize everything else so that the children grow up in an area where it's not even an option. That, for me, is a solution. How you go about that has got other things that go into it. But everything starts young. So a lot of our issues is what's broadcasted on our TVs. The EFF, the ANC, all these political parties broadcast the channels that they need in areas that they need, right? So like if you go into Kwandengezi, a lot of the majority of the votes there are EFF. But what are they watching on TV and on YouTube? What radio stations are they listening to? That's where you infiltrate. That's where you make a change, right? If you can put, just throwing it out there, a more white radio station into a more black area, it makes its own change. Change is also something people resist. Whether we face it or not everyone in a room will agree with change. If we all decide to paint the room a different color, we're going to have 9 colors on a table and struggle to choose one. Change should not be forced. It should be offered. You don't walk into a school and say, only girls will play netball. You walk in and you say, the girls who want to play can go play netball. It has to start young. It has to start with, in schools, are kids taught sharing is caring? Wonderful, great, they've got that down. Are they now taught how to involve other people in their space? How to include friends in friend groups that they're not welcome in? There's no such thing as, I don't know how to say this. No one is born a certain way, but the people who birth them are. The people who have birthed those children already have ideas in their heads. I myself have a very racist dad, right? I could not be further from him because of my mum. My mum was the change, right? My mum was the one who decided that would not be a part of our household. She made that effort to change. I was not born racist, but had I stayed with my father, who knows? First thing we change is the people around the children. You try change, you offer different radio stations, you offer different connections, you offer different job policies, you offer different work environments, and you hope that the children that they raise are raised with those changes. I don't know, just a solution. Whoever wants next can have it.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm not the best at public speaking, but I can say something about like my experience with just life in general and what I've learned. I'd like to make an example, right, with my hair and stuff. Schools, private schools, I don't know about public schools if they really care about the whole hair thing. But I would say schools, they like to judge people based on what they have on their head. When we as a society should actually change that, because I've noticed that the older people, like people like my dad's age, or just people of different races, when they see dreads, they immediately think of either a beggar or, let's say, someone who steals or something or does drugs. Yeah. And we shouldn't be looking at people just based off their appearance, right? You can be more than your appearance. You can express yourself differently. And I feel like people should be able to be uniquely them, in society without feeling judged by a certain group of people. You can also be judged by a black person, obviously, but we should look past what you see and look at someone's soul, not exactly soul, but like their personality, who they are as a person. But I've seen that the youth are trying to like accept it more people that are young, like my hair. So yeah, we just need to also de-racialize, like she said, de-racialize parents, because mostly the old people who have that judgment already in their head. And yeah, just be better as a society. Yeah.
Okay, well, seeing as though everybody's talking about personal experiences, I obviously have a very light-skinned father. And it's something that has really, it's shaped the kind of person that I am, because when someone sees a black person, they assume they're black. They have black parents, they speak Zulu, they eat the same thing that black people eat, they wear the same thing that black people wear, they drive the same car that black people drive. Like, I don't know, like they put you in a box. And I've had a lot of experiences throughout my life where I've had to explain myself. I've had to learn to summarize the fact that I'm adopted, like, quickly. Like, I'm at a till and I don't have time to explain my whole entire life story right here. But I can explain that I actually don't know what you're saying to me right now. So please speak English, kind of thing. I've had to explain to car guards that I don't know how to speak Zulu. I've had to explain to waitresses that I don't know how to speak Zulu. Like, it's a never-ending cycle. And it's something that I've learned to be proud of. It's something that my mom, I think someone touched on it, the whole, it's your parents. It's the way they bring you up kind of thing. Because when I was small, my mom always used to tell me, like, you're adopted and you need to be proud of it. And I used to walk around Spa telling everyone, I'm adopted and I'm proud of it. I'm adopted and I'm proud of it. To a point where people actually thought I was crazy. Like, people thought I was genuinely crazy because, okay, you're adopted and you're proud of it. Got it. Like, what do you want us to do with that? But I'm now, like, I can confidently say that I am adopted and I'm proud of it. And if you don't know how to speak English, we can't talk then. Like, it's something that I've had to accept, and it's something that I have grown in. And so if there's one thing that I would say that needs to change within the youth, is how you see people and how you would want to be seen. Because I think that changes a lot. I think if I had listened to everything that people would say to me when I was small about maybe you should try and learn Zulu, or maybe you should try and eat this food, or maybe you should try and whatever the case is, it would have definitely changed the way I am today. So yeah, I don't know if that touches on anything, but...
Hello, I'm Ketelo. Yes, KT for short. I'm just gonna touch, I'm not gonna be long, but basically what he said, I feel like we need to start working on shared pain instead of shared history. Once we able to sit in the room, understand, I'm sure right now if you ask most young South Africans, what issues are you facing right now? Most of us are gonna have the same answers. So once we able to understand that we're all facing the same issues, we're in the same problem, we're in the same shoes basically to a certain extent, I feel like down the line as time goes on, we'll be able to have those harder conversations of history and everything. So let's not make the past an entry fee to unity basically, for us being united. I feel like working based off stuff that we're dealing with right now, you know, as the youth and everything, it will make things much easier, and it will become easier for us to come together looking at issues now. So, yeah, that's basically just what I wanted to touch on. Yeah, I don't have much to say. I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything, and yeah. But, yeah, that's me. That's from my side. And another thing I actually wanted to say was... recently, I joined a white friend group, right? I went to school with white people, but I never sat with them, we never chilled together. I had a black friend group. Recently, one of my friend from the US came down. He was like, no, come, you need to join us. Come sit with us and everything. I was like, okay, I've never actually went out with, you know, white people or white friends. I don't know what to expect, you know. And when I actually did it, I'm not sure what I was afraid of this whole time. I'm not sure why I was afraid of hanging out with the white person, sitting with them at school, talking to them during break or everything. Why was it being avoidant, maybe, I'm not sure. But when I actually went there, sat with them, mingled, I'm able to call them my friends now, we check up on each other now, and it's, we're still organizing meetings. No, let's go out this weekend and stuff like that. So it's just become very normal to me now. I'm able to speak to them, and yeah, I feel like that experience also just showed me that, okay, no, it is possible. We can become united. We can come together. And yeah, I just feel like a lot of us are still scared of being united in a way. And yeah, we just need to get over that fear and try and put ourselves in these hard situations. Yeah.
Thanks.
Ew, betrayal comes from your own family, eh? Ew. I must say the most intriguing part about having this conversation and speaking so late is in the beginning I had a lot of ideas and a lot of points I wanted to talk about, but then as I hear everyone speak, everyone's actually talking about the same points I was thinking of. So, like he just touched on fear. I do think a lot of this, you could say segregation that we have between families and people and cultures, backgrounds, areas, even when it comes to something like jobs, there's always some sort of segregation between the area and department that you work in. It's always based on fear. And I do think a way to break that is, I'm going to digress a little bit. My sister touched on how we were raised and who our father is. But a man who raised my mother and us is my grandfather. And my mom can correct my facts because I was very young when he passed. I think he spoke 11 Zulu languages or African languages. His wife was Afrikaans, and he didn't speak a word of it, not a word of Afrikaans. He is a white Irish man and the most giving man possible. He was the most different man for his culture and his age, and he was, I think, the black sheep of his family. But he was very, very, very strict in instilling acceptance in his children and the grandchildren that he had. And it was, if he didn't know who you are and you were cold, he would take his shirt off and walk in the rain as long as you had a shirt on your back. He didn't care who you were. You didn't have to explain yourself. You didn't need a name. And I think I don't realize how much people are so scared of interacting with new people because they have this preconceived idea of who they might be in their own head. So it's your own opinion that made that person bad. You didn't address them with any level of curiosity or understanding that they're flesh and bone. They're exactly like every other mammal, not just human being on Earth. We don't judge an elephant by, I just saw the elephants. We don't judge an elephant by how long its tusks are, and we don't compare it to the other ones. We look at every single creature with, or at least I do, with admiration and beauty and curiosity. So I approach people like that, and I'm hearing a lot of people mention that they don't do that, and it was fascinating. It was always a curiosity, not a curiosity point, but I was always very curious as to why a lot of people that I know, even in my life, and I argue with them all the time, why they have a bias or judgmental or preconceived idea of the person crossing the street. You don't know them. You don't know, their mother might have just passed away today and they're trying to get across to get groceries. You don't know them. Don't get angry at them. You don't know why that person didn't see you when they're trying to merge lanes. Maybe they've just gotten the worst news of their life. You don't know them. I don't always live by this. I'm not perfect. But I always fight with my people in my life when they constantly think like that. And I've noticed, I do think that is a large issue in not just our youth, but in our society, that a lot of people, their ideas are, you could say, their largest flaws. And it's not their ideas on themselves, it's their ideas of what that strange person will think and do and say to them. And I do think just being raw and real will change all of that. So approach someone dead honest. There's no need to pretend and be fake and put on a voice because you want your voice to sound softer and not be who you are. Yeah, okay, I didn't wear makeup today. I don't know there were going to be cameras. That's love. We are here. Everyone's like, okay, we don't know what you look like on with makeup because I haven't met, okay, besides you, I haven't met anybody in this room before besides today. No one knows what I look like at work, when I go out with my friends, when I'm at home. So why did I worry? I was worried that I would be judged, and I was worried that if this is posted, people would judge me based on my looks. So it was a fear that I instilled, and I immediately made some random person that I haven't even met yet a mean person. And hearing everybody, I don't think that's the truth. And I'm grateful that I'm wrong. That is my own little opinion.
Thanks.
I think one of the biggest things in sitting in this panel and hearing everybody's very constructive thoughts is that the question that was posed by Ubaqolani at the beginning was, how do we make it a better society? How do we move from the way that we were raised and the way that our previous generations were raised and bring it into a kinder society, a society that's actually willing to grow beyond color? And I think that is one of the hardest questions I've ever had posed upon me, because I don't know. You keep mentioning this baton and how we need to pick up the baton and how the baton has fallen. And the entire time you were mentioning that, the only thing I was asking myself is, the baton that you speak of, where is it? We are supposed to pick it up, but we don't even know what we are picking up. We don't know where to find the resources to make the society that we want. We don't know where to look. We are sitting here as well saying that I was raised in a home that you were speaking about, that my mother went on to move from Mlazi to a white area and take me to private school and buy the big house and buy the big car and do all of these things to give me a better life. And I'm still sitting here today saying I'm fighting every single day of my life, trying to not end up in an unemployment line. I am fighting. I don't necessarily think that I personally see the separation, because I have been raised in both societies, where I did go to the white schools, but on the weekends I was in Mlazi with my grandmother, playing with my neighbors and getting shouted at that 6 o'clock when the streetlights come on, you have to be inside the house. So we can sit and have the conversation of, we have to be a kinder society in order for all of us to be able to get to a thinking point and a way of being that accepts everybody amongst you as equals. But it's hard to do that in the society that we are in. As Ursula was saying, that the schools that nobody's born racist, nobody is born a type of way. We're all molded by the things that we are experiencing and the things that we're being open to within our families. But in changing the schools, it would mean changing older generations and trying to teach older generations that are set in stone that this is not the way, this might not be the way, but this is the way that it's worked for them for 70 years. How do we change that? And also something, I think James, if I'm right, something that James mentioned is that we're having this conversation from a standpoint of privilege, but we're not involving the people who are actually sitting outside begging for jobs, begging for opportunities. But at the same time, realistically, a person who's inside a house that is burning can never ever see the door. But if you're standing on the outside looking in, you can point to the door and say, the door is over there, run to the door. And they might not have the resources to get to the door. And that is what we're facing in the society that we are living in today, is that the resources are what is lacking. And as much as kindness is the way forward, realistically picking up the baton is becoming more and more and more impossible, and we're seeing it with the political situations that we are experiencing and the Matlanga Commission. We're seeing it all around us in the South Africa that we live in. So to answer the question as bluntly as possible, I don't know where the baton is. I don't know how to pick it up, and then how do I move forward from that? And we may sit back and say as the youth that you are being redundant and you're repeating the same things, but realistically, we're also sitting back saying we don't know how to realistically help ourselves and everybody around us.
Let me conclude with the elders.
Thank you. Nancy, I introduced myself in the beginning, and I do think the first step is saying exactly what you have said, is opening up the discussion to the questions around what that looks like, how it gets done, who needs to be involved, and we as the older generation, handing it over without holding on to it. So enabling the youth through the process and providing the tools and the resources, but without dictating the route that needs to be taken. Because we have the old mindset and we recognize that. And we recognize that as much as we are here in a supportive role now, it's not our role to lead anymore. It's our role to build the capacity for the younger generation to lead. Because as you said earlier when you opened, if we keep doing the same thing and expecting different results, it is the definition of insanity. So we can't believe that we consistently have the answers that we thought we had the answers to 30 years ago, when the environment that we're living in has aged by 30 years. The generation that follows us needs to be built with the capacity, the tools, the skills, and the knowledge that they need in order to now lead the path that they determine for themselves what the future looks like, and make that decision amongst themselves of what the future looks like. But we shouldn't prescribe to them how it gets done. We should just act as an enabler of that process.
It's been very interesting just listening to you guys, and the excitement in my heart, even as P was saying she doesn't know. I mean, that's the honesty that one is fighting for, because it's the honesty that will get us going. But we don't drive our cars looking in the rearview mirror. We drive our cars looking at the big screen. And we do refer to the rearview mirror to show us what has gone past. And I think the determination will get us into a much better place. We as, call us the elders. I like that. I can't wait till next year, then I'll be 60. But the elders have let the youth down. And I look at my life, and we had a gentleman that worked in the garden, and he had a separate plate and a separate cup. So you can imagine what I've grown out of. And now we have children that, as you rightly pointed out, we don't see color, but we've chosen that, and we fought for that. And you talk about dreads. When Noah went to Westville Junior Primary, we arrived there, and Noah had dreads like this, and we were in the headmaster's office straight away. So I understand what you're referring to. We were given grace, and he was then doing photo shoots for Mr. Price Sport. And we had grace for, I think, 2 days or something, Aprish. And then it was back into the box we were talking about. But my encouragement is that we can't do this alone. And as the youth, the ability to stand up and be counted. And you can't do it by yourself. When you start putting your head up, somebody wants to zap that. But when all the heads go up, and this is the way we're going, the non-racist, the non-fighting, the non-corruption, that love and that putting your hand out is what will create. So when I'm in the retirement home, I'm going to say, yo, go guys, come on. You know, you need the resources, I'll just be able to age myself, write out a check. Never mind send an EFT or what do you call it, a cash send or whatever. So from my point of view, we can walk with you, and it's different to saying that we'll be shouting for you. We'll walk with you, and we won't determine that. We will, as the elders, you go to the elders to ask for advice. They will give advice. It's what you do with it. We were talking about it earlier. In a different context, when you asked Benedict, what do you think about this? And you say, I think you should go that way. Now the decision is, do I listen or do I go my own way? And then you come back again. Because there's wisdom, there's experience. I mean, you've met Mandela, and you were taken aback. You need to tell them that story. But we'll walk with you. And when you get weary, we will gird you up and push you in the right direction, because we all need it. My son needs it. He's 14, and my even little one, she's 9. They need that. They need the change. The given in life, I think you mentioned earlier on, the given in life is change. You know, when we were at school, you got those given in the equation, x equals 3. The given in life is change, and it's how you embrace it. I thank you.
I think don't walk with them. Be the walking stick. Let them use you as a walking stick. Yeah.
Thank you, Claudani. I'm Bright Mhlongo. For my sins, I'm a father of boys. One is 21, is at varsity. The other one is 18. Next to me, I've got a 7-year-old also that I still need to try and shepherd. But, you know, of course, as a parent, yes, today is not about us, but, you know, if the opportunity is there to share, the best thing that I can advise the young people in our midst to, you know, to consider, so that they are, you know, they are able to influence their spaces, is to join social clubs. I'm not sure if social clubs is correct. I'll give a simple example. Environmentalists, join an environmental club. And in that environmental club, you can make an impact. Join, you know, I don't have exact clubs, but non-political social clubs where you can now demand that it must be as inclusive as possible, because you now have an agenda about your future. And you know that your future alone or in a certain enclave is not sustainable. You know, if you join a development club of rugby, a development club of cricket, a debate development club, or public speaking development club, try and be the light that is shining there and is an example of what inclusivity is. So that's one of the things I would like to just share with the young guys, to say adversity. Join social clubs that are not necessarily political, but have an opportunity or have a potential to to incorporate people from different either races or classes. So that's the biggest one for me. I don't have any other major contribution except for that, because I know people sometimes say like, but what can I realistically do? You know, join a social club so that you learn social activism at an earlier stage, and that's where most people would have come from. So that's my contribution. But I'm of course inspired by the different ideas that within the room. You know, I'm surprised this man says I'm old, but you know, we still think we are young, but not young enough to influence what you guys think. So the thinking must be left purely on your faculties, and it must be you guys who determine your future. Don't let our poisoned pasts be the ones that determine. You know, when I called my son to come join, I literally hid the information because I didn't want to influence him. I work with Katie. He also asked me because he's close with my older son, and I said no. Bob Kolani or us, we can't tell you how you must prepare for these meetings, because the aim is for you guys to be as authentic as possible about how you feel. If you're unprepared, it's fine. It's okay to be unprepared. The next one, you'll be prepared. But the wish is that these guys who come to these meetings are here in their authentic selves, so that they can shape each other, and where we are required, right at the background, can then assist in correcting whatever needs to be corrected or assist in moving them forward. Thank you.